to probably the most controversial opinion I'm going to have on this little episode here. Joker, Folie A Deux. I thought this movie was great. And I'm not being sarcastic. I genuinely am one of the defenders of this movie. I was from the first moment I saw it. I love this movie. It's a great exploration of identity and just everyone's telling Arthur who he is. But he just needs to know who he is. He needs to figure out who he is. And this movie is about him figuring out who he is. Not what other people say he is, but who he is. And in terms of people getting mad that, ooh, this Joker, he's not the Joker. The first movie wasn't the origin story of the Joker. And this is blah, 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 blah. Yes, the first movie was still the origin story of the Joker. Because the Joker was an idea. The Joker is the idea. Arthur Fleck was forced to embody the idea. So yes, Arthur Fleck was the Joker, but the Joker is not just Arthur Fleck, because the Joker is an idea. He's not one singular man. And this is sort of a movie about that, in my opinion. The Joker moved from Arthur Fleck to someone else. Because Arthur Fleck no longer needs to be the Joker. But that doesn't mean the Joker was never him. Because it was. It's not that he was the inspiration of it. No. It's the Joker is an idea. It's sort of this hypothetical mental illness that is sort of contagious that you catch by killing the person that has it or in a sort of way. And that's what happens here. And there's even versions in the comics where when you kill the Joker, whether it's a physical thing like you kill him and a laughing gas thing turns you into a new Joker. Like, there are versions of that in the comics as well, where if you kill the Joker, you become the Joker. So, like, it's not even that inaccurate in terms of the comic books, in my opinion. It still has the same idea. It's still staying true to the character of the Joker. It's not some bullshit thing that a lot of people say, in my opinion. People are allowed to have their own opinions. One man's art is another man's shit, and vice versa. So if you hate this movie, I'm not going to say you're wrong. You're allowed to have your own opinion. But that means I'm allowed to have my own opinion as well. So just keep that in mind. And I just think it's brilliantly shot, obviously on a technical level. It's just brilliantly shot. And I just think there's so many things you can tackle with this movie and think about and just look over and analyze and just... It's a head-thinking movie. And I love head-thinking movies. You don't get a lot of that in comic book movies. And I appreciate that that's what this is. There's a lot of things here that I absolutely adore. And unlike what I was saying about, like, Venom: The Last Dance, where there's, like, things in there that I'm not going to sit here and say it's perfect. This is a movie that I understand if you don't like it for some of the artsy stuff and, like, thematic stuff, but it's still a just really technically brilliantly made movie. And I understand not liking some of the thematic stuff. Okay, fine. I'm okay with that. But this movie gets so much hate that it baffles me that people would put this as, like, call this, like, the worst comic book movie of the year. Especially in a year that has, like, Madam Web and The Crow and Craven. Because, yes, you can sit there and say, oh, I didn't like this thematic thing in it. But the movie itself is competently shot and edited and made and acted and just, like, it's just well done. It's good. And you might not have connected with it in the same way that I did. That being said, here's one thing I will say. For as much as I love Joker Folie A Deux, and as much as I might say on a technical level, if you separate comic book movie passion from this, just on a technical note, technical level, I might argue that it is the best movie out of all 12 of these of the year. That being said, it is not the comic book movie of the year. That belongs to Deadpool and Wolverine. Not by a land, in my opinion, it's not a landslide because of what I just said. On a technical level, if you go into this as a cinephile who doesn't give two shits about comic book movies, and you just sit down and watch Joker Folie A Deux, I think you're going to say it's a better movie than Deadpool and Wolverine. But I grew up watching 2000s comic book movies. Your Blades, your Ghost Riders, your Tim Story Fantastic Fours, your X-Men's. And you know what? Deadpool and Wolverine is a love letter to a lot of the movies I grew up with. And just a lot of the movies that made me into the movie fan that I am today. And for that reason, and that reason alone, and how well they do it, and the fact that they find a way to put emotion into it, and just everything about it, I genuinely, absolutely adored it. It is just great. I really don't have much to say beyond that. It is just this great love letter to the comic book movies that I grew up with. It's the best Deadpool movie. I've always been a fan of the first two Deadpool movies. I've been one of those weirdos that prefers the second one. But there's always something about them that always held it back from being up there with your Logans and your Days of Future Past for me. But this one gets up there for me. There's an aspect that I can see maybe holding it slightly back. It does kind of feel like an episode of Loki at times. But overall, like I said, it's just a brilliant love letter. I can't say that enough. Yeah, Elektra is a terrible movie. That Daredevil movie is a terrible movie. But seeing Jennifer Garner pop up as Elektra, absolutely love it. Loved it. Blade, obviously, Blade 2, one of my favorite Marvel movies. Seeing Wesley Snipes pop up, loved it. So, seeing Chris Evans' Human Torch pop up, loved it. It did get spoiled for me, though. But overall, like I said, I do think if you separate comic book movie fandom from it, I might argue that Folie A Deux is a better movie. And a lot of people would disagree with me on that. That being said, I'm not separating my fandom, so that makes Deadpool and Wolverine the best of the year. I do think it's a lot closer for me than it is for everybody else. But it still comes away with being the best comic book picture of the year.